Hey guys, welcome back to the Bridge Between podcast. It's a very exciting day. As you can see, we're back in studio. We're back. We're back. And Sosa is back from Kaua'i.
Yeah.
So we look forward to chatting about some of that a little bit later on. Also want to give a quick thanks to everyone who has been tuning in so far. Thank you for subscribing to our YouTube channel and following our Instagram and commenting and keeping the conversations going. We absolutely love all the support. And for those of you who have been contributing to our content by buying us coffees, thank you so much. As always, you can find us on our YouTube channel. And we're on several different what's it called?
Platforms.
Yes,
all the
We're
platforms.
on several different platforms.
Apple, Spotify, all the things.
Yes, we'll probably hit you with the little visual right here of everywhere you can find us.
Exactly.
Another quick way is to follow us on Instagram. That's at the Bridge Between 888. Hit up the Linktree little link, and you'll see it all right there. So before we get into the fun, let's go ahead and do our card of the day.
Yeah.
Reina just got me this. I'm excited to try this deck.
That's such a pretty deck.
What's this one? The Sacred Destiny Oracle. I feel like it matches both of y'all right now.
Yeah, it does.
All the blue.
It's going with the vibe.
Let's get a universal message for the collective. May it resonate with anyone and everyone who sees it. Whenever you see it, truth be told, what do we need to know? Oh, it came with two, so I'll take it. Fine. Oh, patience is the first one. And pleasure. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and also, as a side note, our spirit animals right now, animal totems, may be a deer as well as a crane. So you may want to look up those as well if you're curious in more detail about what kind of animal medicine they provide for us. But okay, so right now, patience is called for. Trust in divine timing and also freeing yourself. It's freeing because this bird, the crane, is flying. So it's this energy of like when you free yourself from like the wanting to control everything that is, even the things that are beyond your control, because you can't. Having patience with yourself in the journey, and you can understand why you may feel frustrated with wanting things on your own timing or wanting it to happen. It's understandable. But there's an energy in freeing yourself from that burden. So have patience right now. Patience with the process. Understand that not everything worth having comes overnight. Trust in divine timing. Patience with your healing. And once you have it, it leads to the pleasure. It leads to the joy. It leads to the fun. It leads to the tranquility. Also, even in this image, I'm getting this message of just like paying attention to your dreams. It's very like... Ooh, flowers. It's very like dreamy and like a
celestial.
Yeah, celestial. So hey, there's even like a cloud in the background that's also shaped like a deer that looks like to me. You see
Oh, yeah.
It does.
Yeah. So pay attention to your dreams at night because it may even be giving you some signs and details along the way as to where you're headed. But once you have patience, it's basically they're saying it's worth it. It'll be worth it if you have the patience with whatever it is you're working toward, the goal you're building, the business you're building, the relationship that needs healing, whatever it is, relationship with yourself that needs healing. It's going to lead to pleasure once you have patience and also have fun along the way.
2 P's too.
P.
I know.
I wonder what number that in the alphabet is that.
I have to keep.
Nah, I'm not.
I'm like,
let's do that in the B roll.
A, B, C, D,
I know, right?
E, F, G.
I like that because it's also like long term. I feel like being patient allows us to open up to the long term goals.
There's that saying, good things take time.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, not to rush it.
Yeah.
You look great today, Erika, by the way.
Thank you.
Yes,
you're
she
glowing.
Morticia Adams.
Yes.
Morticia Adams.
She's giving.
I'll take
She's
it.
my spirit animal today.
Thank
Thank you. You guys look great too.
Thank you.
You got that Kaua'i glow, and you got that I'm free from the crazy job glow.
Yes.
Plantation.
See, I was about to say, I'm free from the plantation now, y'all. I've left the shackles of my crazy corporate job, and I'm free. I'm a free bird now.
Yep.
I mean, that's the whole crane and like.
I know.
The
I was about to say the
metamorphosis.
crane was speaking out to me a lot.
Yeah. I feel like that's what.
I think they represent abundance too. Cranes.
I think of also there's like a type of martial arts which is crane. So it's like a type of slow moving type of martial art. It's like a style basically because you know
Like
this
Tai
like
Chi?
tiger style. Yeah, exactly. It's like crane. Also, I think of messages. Like I feel like cranes like bring you messages. And
Crane
stuff.
is definitely opposing yoga too. We have to look more into this.
Yeah.
We'll definitely put it in B-roll.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
so
And
you
figure
guys
out
can
what
be able
that
to see.
is.
Cranes and deers.
Yeah. So I like
I thought of Bambi when you said the deer.
Bambi.
I was like Bambi.
Kindness. Oh, kindness. Yeah, deers also represent kindness and compassion.
Something I'm working on.
We're all working on it.
But they have strong
Ourselves and the
instincts,
world.
though. When deers are in danger, like if they sense danger, they are out.
Yeah, we saw Bambi.
Oh yeah, you know
We
what?
saw
They,
Bambi.
You know what? They are very instinctual. They
Yeah.
are. They're like because they always have to run because they're like a
Like,
prime.
this don't feel good.
They're
I'm
prime
out.
meat.
Yeah.
A deer
Prime meat.
ready to get bit at any moment.
I don't want to get a bit.
Oh, man. So, since we're already in this energy of talking about having patience and divine timing and healing, let's talk a little bit about your journey, Sosa, and Kaua'i and what you've been going through in your cocoon over there.
It's really been a cocoon. I feel like I just like came out of this cocoon and just started flying and really appreciating this transformation. I've been away for 3 months. First of all, I went to Kauai
long
to visit
time,
a
y'all.
friend for her birthday.
She went for a visit.
She
Ended up
stayed.
staying for weeks,
never came
y'all.
back.
Like big Sagittarius shit, you know? Like
Yeah.
I can't.
It's like, fuck it, I got no kids besides student loans.
Right?
Let's just fucking do this. But no, it was like literally those leaps of faith where like I found the right people, I found the right connections. Everything has been working so lovely there, but it's been very trying. Like all of my shadow shit has been coming up because it's a very slow pace environment. So it's allowing me to like be super fucking present, but I also have to be aware of how I deliver around other people. So I live in a community house of like 12 people, 15 if there's like partners around, and like it becomes a big ass like, you know, a clusterfuck of energy because, you know, I'm really highly sensitive to energy, so I pick up on what everybody's feeling, so I constantly have to come back to my rituals to ground that energy. But for me, it's like I see everybody as mirrors. So even the people who irk me, which y'all know, part of my healing journey at Kauai is healing racism and just healing this like programming that we were raised on, and like not have any limitations or any expectations of how we need certain people to show up or not show up, and how we open up our hearts, because Hawaii is known to being like the heart chakra of the world. So I'm on literally one of the oldest islands, and they call her grandmother. So I've been tried so many different times where I really want to just hurt someone, and I want to be, and I have. I actually haven't hurt anybody with my words. I have though. physically, I have not.
Not yet.
Not well, yeah, not in that phase of my life. But with my words, I know where my delivery has been really shitty. And I've also seen how I can intimidate people in the house, and I don't really like that. I think I used to like thrive off of that energy when you intimidate people, like a power trip. And so I've noticed my delivery with certain people, especially like some of the women, they're like, what's she about to say to me? And then they'll like freeze, and then I was like, oh, I don't want people to feel that around me. I should say I used to. I always knew I had that strong energy towards people, but I used to use it in a way of like a little bit manipulation.
That's
I think
the Chicago in you. That's that shy
in New York.
town.
And-
Yeah, in New York. That's that East Coast energy.
I'm trying to change. I was like a thug trying to open up her heart. Like, you know, I'm trying.
Period, you guys.
Trying. It's very, it's so challenging because it's my automatic response to close, and to not, and to honestly like close towards people who are different than me, especially skin color. So in Hawaii, there's this huge divide between people. Like they really dislike tourists. They really dislike
it's
white
really
people.
real.
And it's like they attack each other. Like, what percentage are you? What's your family name?
Oh God,
Like
love
they
quantum. Don't get me
they
started.
go into it and they really attack each other. And it's like I've heard so many stories, but also I've heard so many how the mainlanders treat these local people, and like, I don't know. I have totally deja vu right now. But there's this thing where like we're learning how to work with one another, be with one another. And it's like, I believe in unity consciousness, but there's a lot of shit we have to get through before we start really embodying that as a collective. Like, we have to really acknowledge a lot of the shadow parts, which is the colonization. Like, even in their own culture, like there's a I'm blanking out on the name, but the accent that goes in with the Hawaiian language, I'm blanking out on the name of it, but a lot of the signs in Hawaii don't have that accent, and that accent is like, usually you would say Hawaii, but Hawaii, and then it's like Hawaii because of the accent.
Yeah.
So the street names don't have that. There's a lot of places that do not have that, and it's just like little things like that we have to acknowledge that like their culture has been stripped away, and there's so much vitality and so much anger at the same time. Like, I work in some of my side hustle is like being a server at a restaurant, a really nice restaurant. So I get to know like the local back end type of shit and hanging out with these people too. So I get to hear all the shit that they talk about, but also the racism that they have to go through with these people. Like, these are people, like, we encounter a lot of like tourism that go there, but it's like, I don't know, it's this privileged mentality that people have that is kind of like, I'm not trying to wrap myself around being sad or angry about it. I'm more of like, let me look at this shadow in the face and like be at my high frequency. So a lot of my work there is really knowing how do I tap into the frequency that I actually want to experience versus what's being presented to me, and like whether I want to participate or not. And it's kind of up to me to be that transmitter constantly. Like, you know, when people are telling you like a really dramatic story that they like, because everybody has baggage, and at the house, like, I spend time asking people so many questions about their lives. So I need to know who the fuck.
I'm finna know who I'm gonna be sleeping around. Okay, like, you guys are gonna be in the same house with me. Like, where you from? What you do? Where have you been? Who hurt you? How did you get here?
Yeah, literally. I've literally interviewed. I always joke about this because we have like this older guy. He's probably in his like 50s. His name is Jim. He's like a constant chain smoker, and he's someone I would never talk to just because like the way he looks and like his energy, because his energy is like really low density. But I'm living with Jim, so I gotta know who the fuck Jim is.
Right.
So one night after I moved in, like a few weeks later, because I didn't want to do nothing to do with this person. It was very like, whoop, I don't even want to acknowledge you, but I was like, no, I need to know who the fuck this guy is. So I did. I spent like a whole hour talking to Jim, and like, you know, and now we click. And now every time I see him, I'm like, hey, what's up, Jim? Like, it just, you know, just
you understand him now.
Just being my light self too. I feel like I don't want to be that person of like isolating people or like annihilating people, because like that's the type of energy I'm not trying to carry as well. I feel like we're all trying to fit in and all trying to find our tribe, and we're all working towards something that's very similar, which is love.
Yeah.
And we talked about this earlier, Erika, about like just shadow entities and being able to feel that on people, especially with like their lineage and just like stuff that they haven't healed that we can feel. But Erika, we were talking about this last night, and I was reminding Erika, like, well, love is that frequency that really alchemizes that in a way where they can affect you, because if you show fear in a situation, you amplify that, especially if they're carrying all this like gunk around them. It's like an old bag that they're carrying, like you can absorb that.
Yeah.
Like us, like we're sponges. So you tap into a higher frequency, which is love or compassion or forgiveness or etc. So judgment has been a huge thing for me to release, because it's like, if I'm judging him, I'm judging myself. Like, there's something psychologically within me that says it's okay to judge people when it's not.
Yeah.
Like, it really isn't. So I've just been in this fucking whirlwind of healing, upgrading, and just really the land there is super high vibrational, like going to certain streams and certain hikes, and just being out at night, biking from work to the house at night and seeing the stars and shooting stars. I live on the ocean. I work on the ocean. I do yoga at sunrise. I'm happy as shit. Like, I'm click with everybody that I live with, and it's challenging, you know, because I'm like a clean ass person. Y'all know me. I'm very particular about
She's very to herself, y'all. I want you guys to know that, like, her being around all these people, like, consciously, it must be great outside, because she don't like strangers and stuff like that.
I don't really fuck with people. Like, even
it's a lot of shadow work over there that you're doing.
It's
like
all shadow.
I was gonna say it's all shadow work.
It's all shadow work. Like, I've literally gotten sick after every moon cycle. I've been in bed for 3 days after with migraines, throwing up. Like, I've never thrown up so much consistently, because literally it's a purge. Like, the whole island is like literally this vortex of light. So if I'm coming over there with this negativity or this like low even just your thoughts are energy. So if I have this program that's come up, the island will bring it out of you. That's why the island gets a rep of being like a flighty, because people can't stand it. Like there's something that will eventually kick you out.
Things just are happening too quickly that they're like, whoa, I need to go back to where I came from.
Yeah. And it's funny too about kicking out too, because the pain there makes sense, because it's like for them, for the locals, the indigenous people there, if it's like the uninvited house guests that never left and they just keep coming. So it's like it's completely understandable. And something you said earlier, about like culture erasure and stuff, like that makes sense, because when I was listening to my friend Autumn, she was doing a live on her Instagram, and I can't remember the other lady's name, but it was during Indigenous Day, talking about the history of like Columbus and all this stuff and etc. And they said, I can't remember which lady said it, so sorry. I know Autumn was there. I know your name. But
we'll link it.
She was basically saying how the biggest weapon that the colonizers had was the pen and paper, because they could rewrite.
A machine gun.
Well, that too, but the erasure of history, because they wrote it how they wanted to write it, and they told their stories. But for us, most indigenous people, we had oral stories. We didn't write things down. So like when you said like the signs in Hawaii don't have the accents, that's all kind of part of it, because they wrote it how they wanted it. So...
And it's happening modern day. Like Mark Zuckerberg just bought this huge fucking land piece up on the north side. And a lot of people are like, what the fuck? Because also like real estate it's so expensive there, because we've been looking for land there as well.
Extremely expensive.
It is like the cheapest we found was like $1 million per acre. It's like, it is pretty wild, but it's like, it's fucking Hawaii. It's fucking paradise. But still,
It's a paradise.
Like I see a lot of these local people and everybody's struggling, and it's like their own fucking land, and it's kind of it's like, until when are we gonna address these things? But where's the balance in all this? And I don't know. I think for me, I'm not trying to fucking be a superhero and try to fucking solve this all myself, because it is very overwhelming. It's sad what people go through. I mean, I'm very compassionate.
I feel for these. You're sensitive, like you said. You're hypersensitive. You feel their pain and their anguish, and it's like,
I just want us to get along.
Yeah, when I recently went to Oahu back in July, and that's a different island than Kauai, obviously. But there was a lot of homeless people there, and a lot of the homeless people looked like they were probably like Hawaiian people, and it's like, it's messed up that those are the people that are homeless when there are like all types of entrepreneurs or whoever, colonizers coming and like having their businesses and doing all these things, and then you just see all these homeless people out here. And I mean, the way my friend was explaining to me, like traditionally, like if you see homeless people outside and you have some extra food, you're supposed to give them your food. So it's like my friend was like, oh, don't be surprised if a homeless person comes up to you, because like it's known like you give them your extra food because they need food and stuff like that. So they eat well, and obviously they're not struggling because the weather isn't like extremely cold or extremely hot, but the fact that they're living on the streets, on the same street as like a skyscraper where they probably pay like
in Oahu?
Yeah, in Oahu.
I'm like, we don't got skyscrapers.
There's a lot of Oahu's a little LA-ish. I don't know. I felt like a little bit of a downtown vibe for a second. I was like,
country.
Dang. Yeah, like right when you get off the airport, you're like, whoa, where's Hawaii? Or like, where's the nature feel? But when you go to North Shore, it's more like that. But it's sad because it's like they have a bunch of empty, brand new condominiums and townhouses, and nobody can afford to live in them because of COVID or whatever the case, and they're multi-million-dollar homes. Like the people of Hawaii can't afford to live it, so they're trying to call in these outsiders, but it's just a lot. And it's like, why don't we make something for the people that are already there? But like you said, it's overwhelming, and we're not Superman, but hopefully we can all collectively come together.
Well, the other shit that gets me is that there's mad hippies just living off the land. People who have no ties to the island whatsoever. And it's like, you're just taking up space at this point. At this point, this is like a lot of your privilege, where y'all need to get your shit together, go back to the mainland or go back to Europe and try to figure this shit out with your ancestors or forefathers, however you want to see this. Because it is. Y'all just chilling here like and like there's certain people I had to. I don't know. It's. I do want to be compassionate and loving, but there's a part of me that doesn't. it's not so naive in that way where I feel like
you're like, how
everybody
much
needs my energy.
And like, do I need to show you at this point? You should know what the heck is going on. I shouldn't have to.
You grown.
Yeah.
But the other thing I haven't talked about more or less, and I don't really share this on Instagram too, is that a lot of me being there is really opening up and remembering Lemuria, which is the ancient civilization that existed there almost thousands and thousands, if not millions of years ago.
And so for people who are watching that may not know the difference between Lemuria and Atlantis, can you quickly...
Yeah, of course explain? I can. So Lemuria was known to be the first civilization, not the first human civilization, but the first civilization, which meaning that we had a lot of open communication with just other beings that are high dimensional. I mean, we're talking about like when this planet was just a water planet, and then there was land, and then the evolution of humans began. But or actually it was created in the way that we were still celestial, so we were not really into like this physical body yet,
not so dense yet.
Yeah. And so when Atlantis happened, Lemuria was the divine feminine energy. We're a feminine planet, so the birth of the evolution of Earth began there, and then the separation of that came with the masculine, which was the birth of Atlantis. The mainland here, U.S. is known to being Atlantis, and so it was like parts of Africa, Europe, but a lot of Lemuria is underground. So like when we talk about the islands of Hawaii, we're talking about the mountaintops of these like ancient lands. So part of my quote unquote spiritual awakening is also to connect in that way and to connect with the ancestors and just like ancestor lineage that we carry, because we're not just like basic humans. Yes, we have a root ancestors, but we're more than that. So me being there and being able to tap into portal energy and do portal work and like healing work and sound healing, like being able to tap into nature and the stories and the energy and the goddess energy that's over there, it has been fucking amazing. And so Lemuria came to me in my awakening through different visions and like things that just happened where I'm like, I can't deny these like visions that I've been having and these experiences, especially like being able to astral travel and sleep and being able to travel into these timelines, because I've literally experienced Hawaii like in a different, like it was different, like there was more islands, the lands looked bigger thousands and thousands of years ago. So me being there is familiar. Like when I landed, I was like, I'm home. Like it just kept coming to me in that way. So the reason I guess I bring that up, because Lemurians were really big on healing, but also big on anchoring heaven on earth and I feel like with the balance that is needed right now and the consciousness shift that we need to have in order to not be these zombies to like the agenda that's happening, I want to tap into some other shit. And so I know, and our lineage, all of us have ancestors that were highly tapped in. For me, it's like we're open channels, and it's kind of our responsibility, if you think about it, to deliver that message. And so I'm opening up myself for my own healing, but I'm doing it for the collective and for the highest good of everybody connected to us.
And so Atlantis was like more the divine masculine vibe, and they kind of like bumped heads.
We totally bumped heads. Well, that was when the like technology really like took over, and so like a lot of like technology with crystals, but the abuse with that, in the sense, and the abuse of gold, and also like
wildlife. Like I feel like I just get the vibe that Atlanteans were not very kind to
my God,
wild like dolphins. And
they experimented on animals, and they experimented on dragons and all these mystical like animals that existed and they don't exist anymore because they can't be at this density. But there's I'll link this talk that Barbara Handcloud did on Atlantis, and also Dolores Cannon talks about this as well, is to be mindful.
They'll be in the description.
Yeah, these talks are really great in the sense of understanding like there is really no such thing as time. So we are reliving we relived the Atlantis fall, I think, already. I think there's no more like fall to be worried about. I think it's now us as being humans in this body to understand like the integration that needs to take place. So I know me being Hawaii is like activating as fuck. And it's a lot. Like I'm actually very happy to take a break from it, because the energy it hurts. Like I've literally been sick for days. I'm like, I can't get up. Like I'm sick.
When I was in Oahu, I was up every night at 3 a.m. like getting woken up up and I was like, leave me alone.
I've had that happen to me in the middle of the night, just like spirits, like all these conversations, or I'll just have to sit outside for hours and like just stare at the rain and have this whole dialogue that's happening. I have to bring out my notebook and like write and do rituals in the middle of the fucking night. And I'm like, all right, y'all putting me to work. Another thing that I did, I haven't really shared this too, because it's very sacred to me and like shamanic. I started to offer my moon cycle to the earth. And that was like my first time I started doing it in this lifetime, because I definitely remember that ritual. But this is what we did as women in very ancient times. Like, we didn't have tampons and we didn't have anything. So it was like we offered our blood back into the earth, and like we release old DNA. We're shedding in ways that like men they don't have that capacity to do that. So ever since I started doing that though, wow, it has opened a whole other channel. And that's my first time doing it in this lifetime. So, like, I've never been activated like that before. But every full moon and every few days after my cycle, I'm sick. I'm sick as fuck. So I've been talking to Spirit, being like, I don't want to do this anymore, though, because I'm, like, out of pocket. I'm not gonna be sick, I throw up multiple times. It's literally, like, I can't even sleep. It's like withdrawals.
It's crazy that you say that, because when I first started getting my period, like back in high school and middle school, I would throw up for the first 2 days. Just like, that's just how
your body's
purging. I would just like, it's funny because I would walk into the classroom and the whole classroom would know. They'd be like, yo, Reina's on her period, somebody get her the trash can, right? Because I was a trooper. I'd go throw up and like walk back in. They're like, go home. I'm like, I don't want to go home. So then I have to study this stuff later. But that was also me being hyper independent and not like taking care of myself when I needed to. That was me doing too much. But they'd be like, Reina, you gotta get out of here, you're sick. And I'm like, this is just I was just like kind of telling myself, this is just my life, like it happens every month, so I just have to deal. But thankfully I'm not like that anymore.
Hyper independency, like we were just talking about that, like I have that a lot. That's my aspect of like Mars and Scorpio conjunct Pluto, or just like I like to get shit done for me and when I need it to get done, and I could be really aggressive. And so a lot of the people that I'm living with, I've opened myself up, and so I've built a relationship with certain people. And there was this one housemate that was just like getting on me about it, like, bruh, we just talked about you being hyper independent. Like, I was just trying to help you right now, and you denied me. Like, you just said no when we were just talking about this. But it's literally like autopilot. And I'm learning to like open my heart up. Yeah, a lot more, because it's like, I don't know, it's we want to help each other. We want to be able to be there, but I feel like we have to learn how to trust others. And I don't know, and not necessarily like earn trust, but like just trust the process. Like, try to let go of like, what's my next line? Like, that's like my new thing. Like, I don't have to know what my next line is. Like, I can be in the moment. And this is, ever since I got back in the last 24 hours, there's been mad changes. Like, there's been certain shifts where I was like, oh wait, this is triggering, like what the fuck. And so there's something that happened yesterday that I had to like really move the energy, and then today something else happened. But then as soon as I let that shit go, like I got mad money come in. Like, my client paid me, and I was just like, money that I was not expecting. 2 clients actually paid me today that I was not expecting. And it's kind of like love and money are the same frequency. So when you block yourself from that, you're limiting yourself. So like when we talk about racism, people of color need to start really looking at themselves too, to like, what are we supposed to let go here? Because we need to know how to work. I'm not saying go date Becky or be with John, like, but I mean, you could open yourself up to
you
that.
Want John Smith, then you want John Smith.
Not John Smith though.
I know. I was like, that's a horrible
Is that
one.
the guy from Game of Thrones?
No, that's the guy from Pocahontas.
Oh.
No, but she really ended up.
These white men are dangerous. No, I'm just kidding.
No,
just kidding. No,
she ended up with John Rolfe though.
She did. I know.
Another John.
John. Can you believe that?
See, I don't know if I can date a John though. That's my thing. That's what I'm learning. I'm learning not to have that as a stereotype or any limitations or any expectations of that, because it's true. Like, I've never really been with a white man. I've never really dated a white man. I don't really carry white friends. Like, I've been in my zone for so long, most of my life. It's really easy for me to turn off white people like really quick, and not give them like any attention per se. Or I don't know if it's attention or like just acknowledgement, I guess.
You don't want to give them any white privilege. That's what you don't want to give.
I'm all like, aha. Because the fact that you're now in a place which basically is ancient Lemuria. And where Lemuria was more of like an all-inclusive vibration of like, so like the kumbaya energy of I have a dream, like all of that was like Lemuria. Like there
1,000%.
No, we didn't have race and all this stuff and whatever, like, you know,
we didn't care about
race
those
is
type
a
of
man-made
things.
construct.
Yeah,
you guys know how I feel about that by now. But so like if you think about like the divide that happened, it's kind of like we did relive that, because Atlantis was more of like judgment, your category, and Lemuria was more like, we're all here, let's just get along. So the fact that you're there working through this now is like a huge thing. And also the fact that you've been there 3 months, I think of the Empress card, where Empress, you are pregnant with this change and you haven't given birth to it yet, but
I'm in labor pains though.
It's
I'm
it's
in real
cooking
labor
up.
pains.
It's cooking up, and you're changing your eating habits like you have to do when you're pregnant, because you know, you got to make sure
Shade
it's
my
healthy.
head,
Yeah,
you're doing a lot of different changes.
There's a lot of that healing going on. And like, you know, I try to tell people this all the time. Like, it's not to be oblivious or ignorant that racism is still present. It is. And I was sharing with you guys earlier, like one of the times that I was faced with it right in my face that is still damaging to me, even still, and I'm still forgiving.
Tell the story.
Oh God.
You could do it. You could do it. This is a big step for you.
I won't name names, but so, well, the first time I really realized that racism is a thing was I was in either 7th or 8th grade. And during this time, I was going to majority white school. It was called Brown Academy in Virginia. And I had this friend, and I won't say her name. I'm going to call her Cindy for this. I was friends with Cindy, and I was in the car with Cindy. Like, I think I just had a sleepover at her house and all this stuff. And I was in the car with her. We were in the back seat. Her dad was driving, and her mom was in the passenger seat. And I guess her dad forgot I was in the back seat because he wasn't paying attention to where he was going, and he almost hit this black guy crossing the street. And he just let it fly out of his mouth so easy. Oh, hit another nigga, who cares? And then all of a sudden, his wife just whips her head at him. And then he turns beet red. And he's like looking in the rearview mirror back at me. And I'm just in shock. And I'm just like, I don't know what to do, how to respond. I'm a little kid. And then I never felt so like othered in that moment. Where it was like, and he just turned so beet red, and he said the typical, I'm not racist, I have black friends, you know, the typical. And I remember I went home and I told my mom.
When that happens to you guys.
You don't say that.
I went home and I told my mom what happened, and she was like, well, we can't tell your father, because if we tell him, he's gonna kill someone. And so, sorry, Dad, if you see this now, you know. But I didn't name names.
That's true.
But that was the first time I realized, like, this is real. Like, they don't like us. They don't like us. They don't like me. Yeah. And then ever since then, oh my gosh, I might cry now. So,
yes.
It's okay.
Look at you moving energy, your vulnerability.
Yeah. So I remember after that, whenever I get nervous, I would subconsciously rip out my hair. And that was because my hair reminded me that I was different than them. So that was the first time. But, you know, I'm the type of person, I still stayed friends with Cindy. You know, it wasn't her fault. She didn't carry what her father carried, you know, so we were still cool until his second reason why I really need to work through some stuff is because I never got to see Michael Jackson perform because of this same dude. So Cindy had gotten us tickets to go see to this benefit concert after 9/11, and Michael was going to be the headliner, and he made us leave early because she had a test the next day, and Michael was on the way, and we left before Michael got there. And like, that was my lifelong dream to see Michael Jackson. And so like, I have a lot of big reasons to work through healing this dude. So, but if I catch him on the street, I don't know what might happen.
No, that's the real work. But also, like, look what he also brought up as a shadow, because I don't think you've ever shared that story with us.
Definitely.
I mean, I haven't heard that story.
I mean, I definitely haven't told people publicly that, like, what happened. It's kind of just been something I kept like pushing away. And I think that's really where a lot of my own personal insecurities started, with like ripping out of the hair, not on purpose, but just like when I would get nervous, it would just happen. And then I realized, wait, I'm pulling out my hair, because subconsciously it reminded me of how different I was. And there's a lot of stuff that happened after then. Like freshman year of high school, I went to a majority white high school, and I had some racist teachers there too who wouldn't help me because I've always struggled with math. And the teacher, I was literally begging for like help, like tutoring, because I wanted to do better. And she was just basically like, if you don't have it by now, you don't kind of have it. And the real reason was because I looked like myself. And so I begged my parents to transfer me out, and then I transferred to Bishop McNamara in Maryland, which was like more diverse. And of course it was way better there. Like I would have the teachers there would just like really work with me, even though I still struggle. Like math is just never going to be my thing, but they helped me. So even with all of that I've experienced and you guys have experienced in your own ways, and people are continually experiencing with what's been happening, like we cannot progress to that level of unity like Lemuria had if we also keep saying racism is everywhere. Words are spells, and if you are believing that with passion, you're going to recreate the narrative over and over and over. And that's why we've never broken out this trauma loop, because we keep telling ourselves they don't like us. We keep telling ourselves they're racist, the colonizers.
Staying in the victimhood of it all.
And and like not all of them are that, period. Like I know some people don't like to hear that, but not everyone is bad. Not all white people are bad. Some of them have lived past lifetimes in where they may have looked more like me in this past lifetime.
And vice versa.
And vice versa. Yes, I know I have been, burned on the stake as a white witch in past lifetimes. I've seen it. So like we also have to remember that like we're healing much more than just this lifetime. And also there's she goes by Adunola the Oracle. She said one time on her YouTube channel, like for people who do ancestral work, that sometimes melanated people will deny working with their ancestors that are white, maybe because their ancestor was like a slave master that raped their great so-and-so. But if they appear to help you, she was basically saying, and I'm not using her exact words, but like she's basically saying, if they appear to help you even now, even though you may not identify with that or you have pain with that, what they did, let them help you, because they may be trying to make up for what happened. They may be trying to heal and work through. So don't deny their help. That's like denying your blessing. Now that they're on the other side, they may have had tons of epiphanies about what they did on earth and changed. So don't deny that help either. So even though it's hard. So I got to take my own advice and your advice and your advice and work through this own forgiveness of Cindy's father, because it's rooted in there and it's a lot of healing to do. And I'm going to do it for you, Michael. I'm going to do it for
you. It's tough, I think, to especially talk about it too, because I think there's also a little bit of a fear of like coming off as like, I don't know, when I experience some injustice, I'm like, did I do something to cause this? Like, there's like that kind of a guilt or some sort of shame for even talking about when someone does something kind of racist to you, because you don't want to be that person that's like calling it out, but also you don't want to be the one experiencing it. So that's why I think it's probably so hard for you to like address and to talk about it, because there's like, especially as a child, you're probably like, oh, or at least me, I'm always like, did I do something wrong? Did I cause this? I always go back to me.
Shame.
I'm always like, I'm always thinking like, it must have been something I caused for this to happen. And it's more of like, we need to understand where we were in that moment and where that person was in this moment, and understand where we are now, and kind of have compassion like for the past, for like past you, like maybe like hug yourself in that moment, like meditate back to that moment, hug yourself, maybe hug that man, even though I know that's gonna be tough. But
that's
maybe
asking a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Could do it.
Yeah, but just because if anything, it's like that love you show him is what you show to yourself. And I grew up surrounded by white people, so like I had to acclimate and adjust real quick, because I was not black enough for the black kids, and I was too black for the white kids when I wasn't even like I'm half Filipino, half black and stuff. And it's just been difficult sometimes living in a mixed world when you're surrounded by people that don't look like you and the people that don't understand you, and you're constantly having to explain yourself to people. And then you get like kind of annoyed, but then I'm trying not to get annoyed because I'm like, at least they're asking and not assuming, you know? So that's me showing compassion for like people that don't know things, because that used to be like a big trigger, like me having to explain all the time that like things can be different. Like, yeah, I don't look like my mom sometimes, like, but I do look like my mom, you know what I mean? So it's just kind of like healing that and fighting that. And I went through something racist like in the past 2 years. I wanted to go to the restroom in downtown LA, and my friend who is Filipino, he went inside. He's like, oh yeah, they have a bathroom in there, they'll let you go use it. And I was like, okay, cool. And when I asked to go to the bathroom, they said they didn't have a bathroom. And I was like, oh, my friend just used the bathroom, like literally just came from here. But okay, but I guess we wouldn't look like we'd be friends because he's an Asian man and I look like who I am. And
Dark
they
skin.
and they did not let me use the bathroom. They denied it. I was like, my friend just used the restroom. They were like, no, we don't have a bathroom. We don't have a restroom here. There's no bathroom. I was like, oh, okay. Like I kind of laughed about it because now I'm at the age, like, I can only imagine if that happened to me when I was younger. I'm at the age where I was like, oh, I see where you're coming from. I see your fear. And it kind of made me chuckle because I was like, do I really look that harmless? Like, I was like, do I really look like I'm gonna destroy your bathroom? Like I was just like, wow, like that's kind of funny the way you saw me, but I see you. And I really pray that you understand in the future somehow, some way, because I tried to let go of that like hate, because at first I got mad, but then I started laughing. I was like, I just gotta laugh about it. I gotta laugh it off.
And we need to know how to like move that energy right away. It's like we're not trying to fix or justify racism. It is what it is. I feel like we need to like, not, I don't want to say get over it, but we need to know how to overcome it, like, and go beyond it. And to like, so what do we do with this energy?
Adapt and grow.
Like, I think education's a big part of it. I think even going as far back to understanding where this concept of race came from and why it came about, because all these racial categories just get on my absolute nerves, to be fully honest, because even now, like, because I'm mixed Black and Indigenous, like I call it, I guess you could say, like, growing up I lived like a Black girl experience because that was the category I was put into, because back then one drop rule was very prevalent. Some people still go by it now, but now it's like, nowadays you got people trying to say you're not even Black, you are mixed, and that's a different category. And it's like, so you can't rewrite my history and tell me that I didn't live a whole Black experience growing up, even though I'm both. Like, that was more my experience. It wasn't until more of like end of high school to college that I really had this urge and thirst to really understand my Indigenous side, my Native American side even more, and got heavily involved, which led me to now, like, you know, being a part of both. But understanding the fact that, first of all, what is race? It's a man-made concept, because, like you said, at one point we were all came from the same source, the same
we're celestial. We don't even have color, really.
And what we call Turtle Island in my Native American traditions was the earth. It was all water, and then it was a patch of land that then split, right? But I always say, like, we've always had different tribes. So it's like, okay, you know, I'm a Herring tribe and whatever, and oh, you are Zulu tribe from Africa. Like, I wouldn't have been like, oh, Black man. I would have been like, oh, Zulu tribe. I'm a Herring. You know what I mean? Or vice versa. And so even down to the fact that we put these whole categories of, now you're not even Black, you're mixed, and that's a different category. And biracials aren't Black. Like, that's what they love to say now. Biracials aren't Black.
I just want to talk about the Pleiadian ancestry, because I'm over here like, I'm Pleiadian as fuck. Like,
you know what? Well, not Pleiadian, but not necessarily in what I was thinking just now. But earlier I was thinking about the fact how history really does repeat itself. Because for me, being that I'm of mixed race now, Indigenous and Black, and even still, Black people can also be Indigenous. That's a different story, but I'll get into that another time. Back, Annika, my friend Annika, hey Annika, she was saying how the reason why, like, a lot of this is my purpose to help people come to this understanding that, like, this whole race stuff is kind of BS in a sense, because even back then I had parents, she saw this vision. She was like, you are a product of Lemuria and Atlantis. You had one parent from there and one parent from there.
You did.
And that's why you are the way you are now. And I'm like, that makes so much sense. So like you were kind of about to say, like, we have to kind of go back beyond this ancestry and look at, I know that's hard for a lot of people to do, but look up the ancestry, our celestial ancestry, like your Pleiadian ancestry and stuff.
Because we see stuff. I be seeing stuff out there. There is a lot of visitors from other dimensions out there.
Oh, they're walking around.
Yeah.
Joshua
and it's very
tree,
open.
We can see it too. Like it's Joshua tree is wild. Man.
A lot of them look like us.
Yeah. I think it's a hard concept for people to grasp because then you really need to open their minds.
Yeah.
And they're really stuck on what they could, open their mind and their hearts, and they're really stuck on what they see right in front of them on the TV. You guys are like, well, that's not what's on the TV. Screen. That's not what the TV says. Like, I don't see no people on the TV that are black and mixed that look like you. And it's like, okay, just because there's one Janae Akko doesn't mean there's like somebody that looks like, you know what I mean? There's not somebody that looks like me. And I think we get really caught up on whatever images are being presented to us.
Correct.
And that's why, like you said, education goes back down to it. And we need to think about, what are we being presented with, guys? Are we seeing a theme here? Are we seeing something like in the Philippines? I was talking about with somebody, I forgot, family or cousin or something, and how they only show one kind of person when, like you said, there's different ancestry, there's different people that look different, but they're the same, come from the same island, but they're only going to show you this one version because this is the version that we want you guys to think about, and we want you to hate all other versions or not understand any other versions besides this one version of a Filipino. I think that's like us with humans, with the human race. We're being shown one vision of the human race, and that's all it is. And we're not expanding our hearts and minds, or we, not us. A lot of people are not expanding their hearts and minds to be able to see, like, you know what? I think it's a little silly to think that we're the only people in this whole universe. Do you guys really like,
or beings?
Yeah, the only beings. Like, you guys really think that's?
We're most definitely not.
Come on, y'all. Like,
I feel like that's the next shift, though. The transparency between all of that, and like the activation of Lemuria being very like legit out there for everyone to see and experience. And again, in Lemuria, there's a lot of celestial activity happening. A lot.
I also think it's interesting because we all have kind of different memories of different celestial beings. Like, you talk about the Pleiadians a lot. You talk about Andromeda. And then I have had meditations and vision about Sirius, the star Sirius.
That makes a lot of sense.
I'm like, does it? I'm like, I don't really
does.
like when I meditate a lot, I hear that word a lot. And then Orion's belt, I feel very connected to that as well. But very interesting how we all come. It's like we're like the different peoples coming together to show you guys that we can all come together and talk and discuss and grow and encourage it all.
And don't be afraid to look up your cosmic ancestry or meditate on it or be open to it, because a lot of people just shut it down very quickly.
Really quickly. And I think we need to talk about that. Why do we shut it down so quickly? Like, what is it that...
Because we project it as into being, like theater.
Scary.
Oh, no, but also like theater, like make-believe and stuff. And, there's more to that.
It's like Ralph Smart, aka Infinite Waters on YouTube. Hey, if you're seeing this,
I love him.
He always says sometimes sci-fi is closer to the truth than reality.
I love him.
Thank you guys for tuning in. As always, if you enjoy this conversation, go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you're seeing this on YouTube and like the video. Share it around. Comment what your feedback is, or maybe some of your experiences or what you have to say. Just keep in mind, YouTube is kind of crazy sometimes, so just keep it respectful, please, in the comments.
Talk all the wild shit.
Respectfully.
I want all the wild shit. Yeah, just kidding.
Follow us on Instagram at The Bridge Between 888. And also, if you want to contribute to our content, you can always buy us a coffee by visiting buymeacoffee.com/bridgebetween. And we will see you guys in the next episode.
Hey.
See you guys next time.